G'day guys, what a week. What an awesome week this is when we celebrate what Jesus has done. You know, the Bible says that we were without God and without hope, but we were lost. But now, because of what Jesus did and what we celebrate this week, we're alive and we're free and we have a relationship with the most high God and He lives in us. Isn't that awesome? Come on. I hope you enjoy this episode.
Who do you think prepared the Last Supper? Look, bread, it's easy enough. It's flour, water, a little salt, herbs if you want more flavor. Normally you'd add yeast, but not at Passover. No, at Passover we cannot wait for the bread to rise. Our deliverance from Pharaoh is at hand. So the story goes. Passover is always the same. We eat the bread, we drink the wine, there's lamb, bitter herbs. We remember our deliverance and our coming deliverance. Next year in Jerusalem, we always say, Messiah will come. It's always the same. But sometimes it seems so far away, so complicated. This year, things were, well, 2 men followed our servant home from fetching water. They were wanting a place to celebrate Passover with their rabbi, and my husband and I, we had an extra room. So I baked the unleavened bread, and I delivered it when they arrived. The rabbi graciously introduced himself, and a horde of 12 men followed him into our upper room. I'd heard about this rabbi. Wild tales of healing blind men, raising the dead, walking on water. So, naturally, I stood outside the door and I peeked around the corner, and that is when he turned it all upside down. You see, the person who sits at the head of the table isn't supposed to get up and wash other people's feet. But this rabbi, he was moving from man to man, washing each of their dirty feet. Well, I pulled back before I was seen, but still, I listened. I stayed and listened. His words were sure, kind, but like fire, like no rabbi I'd ever heard. If you see me, then you see the Father, he said. He also said that he would be broken for them. He talked of the new covenant and being children rather than orphans. And as the bread was passed, the unleavened bread of deliverance, he said, I am the living bread. Living bread. What could we have understood about that at the time? A new covenant was coming, and our deliverance was at our doorstep. Little did we know that our entire world was about to be turned upside down.
Welcome to Easter Sunday. Yay, very exciting. Jesus is risen, he's alive. And I am Terry, and this is a very beautiful
Kristy.
And today I'd love to share a song with you called Communion, and the version that we're going to look at is by Stephanie Gretzinger and Brandon Lake. And I'm just going to talk to each of, we're going to read it out to you and just talk to parts. For me, it's so much about communion, and Easter is so much about communion and the shedding of the blood, obviously, and the bread and the wine and taking of that. But the whole story of the cross, the whole birth, death, life, resurrection, ascension, to me it's all about communion and bringing us back into communion. And so yeah, I'd just love to share that with you today.
Yeah, so good, Terry.
Yeah.
Look forward to hearing it.
Cool. All right, so verse 1 says, take me back to the garden, take me back to that moment that I first heard your voice, take me back to communion, lead me back to the moment that I saw your face. And it makes me think about when we were birthed in the heart of God, in the mind of God, prior to even being, prior to the world being created. He thought about it, he birthed us in his thoughts, and I love that so much. And we were already in a place of communion before we came into being. And then, of course, we know the world was created and was spoken into being, and then Adam and Eve chose to fall out of that communion. Well, they didn't choose to fall out of the communion, but they made a choice that caused that to come about. But the word shows us that before the beginning of time, even God put into place the cross and put Jesus into place, and they made that agreement between them. And so I just find that the most astounding thing. And so for me, being taken back to the garden is about being taken back into that place of communion. And
Yeah, it's really good, Terry.
yeah. The next part of it is just says, it's oh so simple. It was easy to love, no space between us. And again, that speaks of the relationship and where he wants to restore us to, where the cross has restored us to. And Jesus, chose to, in agreement, to go from birth to the cross, and how at that moment of the cross, when the first, or one of the thieves was mocking and said, come down, and the other thief said, don't you realize we deserve to be here? He does not. And then Jesus so beautifully turned to him and said, and this is one of my most favorite things, today you're with me in paradise. And how does that make you feel?
Yeah, it's really encouraging,
It's
isn't
pretty
it?
amazing.
Yeah.
Kristy,
Terry.
would you like to sing some?
Sure.
Let's do that. You are closer, closer than my skin. You are in the air I'm breathing in. Here's where the dead things come back to living. I feel my heart beating again. It feels so good to know you are my friend. Oh, I love that. I love how Jesus is our friend. Kristy, would you like to say some words on it?
Yeah, I just love the imagery of the second line there where it says, you're in the air that I'm breathing in.
Yeah.
And we already know that as Christians that we've been saved and that Jesus lives inside of us, but the imagery of that, it's like when you breathe something in, it's like it just becomes a part of you.
Yeah.
It's like he's there, he's everywhere, he's a part of you, he's so close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
So good.
And again, it's all about a communion. And I love that the last thing that Jesus did with his disciples before he went to the cross was to have communion and to sit and to love with them and to share with them and to wash their feet and to break bread with them, and it must have been the most stunning thing. Yeah, it was so very purposeful that was the last act. And so to me that actually tells me how much Jesus valued communion and our communion with him. And when he took on himself the cross, and he took on himself our sin, and he took on himself our sickness, and bore all of those things and brought us back into relationship with him, and said, do this in remembrance of me. You know, that's not just taking the bread and the wine, it's every day. It's talking to him every day. And you know, how would you be if your kids didn't talk to you?
Oh no, you'd be heartbroken.
That's right. And,
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one thing he loves about us, and that's one of the things that I love so much about this song. And then he says, this is the garden. Here in the place I find you close. This is the communion, and in this place I am fully known. And there's one thing that he really wants is for us to fully know him, and that's why, like, it's all over the word, and we're so blessed that we can pick up the word on our phone and on our iPad and on the computer and any place, and we can read at any place, and there's so many translations. As he's seated at the throne, he's seated at the right hand of God, and he intercedes for us, the word says. And yet he said, but I stand at the door and knock. And any man who enters and opens that door, I will enter in him and sup with him, communion with him. One of the most exciting things to me is when, they run to the tomb, and Mary goes there and she sees who she thinks is the gardener. And this is one of my favourite verses in the Bible. And she says, he said, who are you looking for? And she said, my Lord. And then he just says, Mary. And I was like, I can't imagine how that must have been. And in that moment, she recognises him. And again, it's about the communion, because she recognises his voice. And actually, I'm just thinking right now, the word says that his sheep will know his voice.
Yeah.
And she knew his voice. I'm just looking at this bridge now. It says, this is where I'm meant to be. Me and you and me. And I don't have to prove a thing, because you've already approved of me.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
Just so good. I don't know, just want to take it in.
Yeah. Because it doesn't matter what we say, what we do. It's purchased. It's done. It's finished.
Secure.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
It's secure. It's peace. And, and in this time that we're going through, it's like it's the birth, it's the death, it's the resurrection, it's the ascension. And then, when the waiting after he's actually gone and the disciples have watched him, and then he tells them, wait. Wait for me, or wait until the Holy Spirit has come upon you. One touch, it's enough. One cross, it's enough. One life, it's enough for all of us. Wow. And there's nothing that we can do to earn it. There's nothing that we need to do to purchase it. But to reach out and touch the hem of his garment, to have that faith and confess him as Lord. Coronavirus actually was already nailed to the cross. And when he took that, as stripes upon him, he took every case. Every case. And you know what? I was just thinking today, I actually took communion as I was singing this and watching this song, because it's a beautiful clip. And I'd encourage you to do the same. You know, through this whole isolation process, you can take communion every day and just spend that time with the Lord. It is so beautiful taking communion and appropriating his blood, his body every day, and appropriating it over your family, appropriating it over your friends. And actually, you know, have a Zoom. Do that. Let's do that. Let's do that. Seriously. Let's do that. Jump on. Have a Zoom and get a hold of a couple of people and just organise to have communion together. I think it's a splendid idea.
Today's song and all the other songs that we've mentioned in our worship segment here at Life Centre Online can be found in our YouTube and Spotify playlists. So if you are on our website, just check down below underneath the video that you're currently watching, just down there. You'll find our links there, and yeah, enjoy.
Yeah.
Have a great week, guys. Be blessed.
Yeah, bless you. Happy Easter. Happy Resurrection Sunday. Bye.
Bye.
Hi. Thanks, girls, so much. I love that song. I've enjoyed spending some time just allowing that to wash over me and to commune with God even through that song as well. So I'd encourage people to do that. Over the last few weeks, or last week, we had a look at Haggai chapter 2. It's an important chapter, and there's some important verses in it for now. And I just want to highlight one little phrase, one little part of one of those verses. Haggai 2:7 says, "I will shake all nations, and what is desired by all nations will come, and I'll fill this house with the glory, says the Lord Almighty." What is it that all nations are desiring and treasuring right now? Well, really, I would like to suggest that it's healing, it's security, it's blessing, it's communion with others, it's salvation, it's hope, it's protection, it's economic stability, even prosperity. It's so much. It's love, it's peace, especially in anxious hearts. And all of these things, all of them, are found in the name and the purpose of the person of the Lord Jesus Christ. It's so powerful, and so, you know, with this verse where it talks about what is desired by all nations will come. You know, Jesus has come. His death, his burial, and his resurrection is what releases the power of that desire that to be met in him. We can know these things. We can have our desires met in him because of what he did, because of his resurrection power. I just want to encourage you just to seek after him, to seek after what he has to offer. Maybe there's some people here today and you've just got this yearning in your heart. I'm just encouraging you right where you are to pray, to reach out to God. He can hear you, he sees you, and he knows you. You're not a mystery to him. And although there's so many things that seem to be shaken right now, he's unshakable. He's unchanging. And I just encourage you to be with him and connect to him now, in Jesus' name.
Happy Easter, everyone. I thought I'd bring some Easter eggs along for you. If you're ready and you can catch, hold your hands out. I'm going to throw you some.
I hope you found some of the links from last week inspiring. We're all learning how to do life differently, to connect as a family, to connect to God.
I think in these uncertain times, it's good to reflect on the meaning of Easter, the price Jesus paid so that we can know him and have our solid foundation.
We've got some more suggestions again this week. There's a DVD out that you could hire online called The Lion of Judah. It's an animation that follows the adventures of a bold little lamb.
And there's another Superbooks link too on the Lifesavers page, and it's called He is Risen. Maybe just preview it for younger viewers to make sure it's suitable.
Have a great Easter, everyone.
Happy Easter!
Happy Easter!
Right here. This is where Jesus was kneeling when they came and grabbed him.
And I came in from this direction with my sword drawn, and I cut off the ear of the servant of the high priest. I reacted exactly the way Jesus told us not to.
And Jesus,
He picks up that man's ear. And He puts it right on his head, like it had always been there. But that's what He did. Jesus was always fixing people's messes. You know, I said I didn't know Him that night. 3 times. 3 times I denied my friend. He told me I was going to do it before I even did it. And like an idiot, I argued with him. But he was right. He's always right. He told us He was going to die before He died. But you know what He did? You know what He did when He came back to life? That morning when He came back to life, He gave me the opportunity to tell Him I loved Him. 3 times. 3. He knew. That was my greatest regret. But that's how He does it. When it settles here, it changes here. And that turns the past upside down. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what happened that night, because of what happened that morning. Because He beat death. Death. He is alive. Alive!
Okay, isn't that great, guys? He's risen. He's conquering. He's the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, name above all names. Let's celebrate together. And I hope you found this encouraging, this episode. And now I just want to encourage you to get with your family and friends and whoever's in your world and connect with Jesus, connect with each other. Have a great week. See you soon. Bye.
Hey, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out the box right below this video if you're watching from Life Center Online. We've got playlists down the bottom, so if you enjoyed and want to check out the songs we talked about this week, be sure to jump down there. We've got Spotify and YouTube playlists. We update them every single week. Check them out. And right below is also a link to our YouTube channel, so be sure to check that out. And if you're watching from YouTube, I might add, check the description because we've actually got a bunch of the links that we've been talking about during this episode down there. And we've also got a link to the website, so be sure to jump onto that. And then back on the Life Center website, right in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll find we've got podcasts. We've got heaps of platforms available now, so be sure to check those out. We've got past services going up every week. And onto the further right-hand side, we've also got announcements. So be sure to check those every single week to make sure you're in the loop and you know what's happening for church every week. All right, have a fantastic, good and godly week, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.